I don't know if any of you gentlemen were in the audience yesterday when Dr. Daniel Kraft gave the opening session. It was sort of like a TED Talk live, and it was mind-boggling as far as I was concerned. Dr. Pizzella and Dr. Fuster have talked a little bit about mobile apps or using smartphones in Kenya for blood pressure. And the anecdote that Dr. Fuster just mentioned about cardiovascular trials and only 20% of people taking medication was again, kind of mind-boggling. My question for all of you gentlemen, in particular for Dr. Rosenblatt and Dr. Garnett, is as a CMO, I'd like to know your opinion on how your role overlaps with the CSO, if one exists at your company, or the CEO, when it comes to really thinking about these levels of innovation. Yesterday, Dr. Kraft said at some point soon he could imagine doctors, maybe CMOs, as a prerequisite, prescribing apps as opposed to prescribing medication. So I'd like to hear your opinions on again, how your role overlaps with the science that's going on in the company, the CEO, and what they're thinking about, and where your companies might be in a year or 2 years or 3 years.
So I think in terms of how our roles overlap, probably we would give you a slightly different answer on that. Part of my responsibility is for the drug development organization within Lilly, and clearly one of the things we're looking at is how do we change the way we develop drugs? How do we interact with patients in a more friendly way, I alluded to earlier. And that I think includes many of these new technologies that allow you to have real-time data transferred, so you don't have to have monitors on site, you don't need to be checking against source data, because the source data is the electronically captured data. So I think as we're looking at those innovations, that certainly is something that is an integral part of my role as Chief Medical Officer. Now I think different CMOs in different companies would have different responsibilities for that work, and probably Mike's would be somewhat different, I don't know.
So the way we're structured, the Chief Medical Officer and the Chief Scientific Officer sit at the same table. One has a gigantic division under him, not me. He's got 8,000 employees in R&D, and I've got a group of about 150 under me. But we do sit at the executive committee, and I would say that our voices are equal, and we come at things from a different perspective. In terms of moving into these new areas like apps and devices and the marriage of medicines to devices, we've chosen at our company to create a position of a Chief Medical Information Officer who's on the cutting edge, and that reports in to me. So that didn't go to the Chief Scientific Officer. And I think both of us would be kind of ascribe the same very high value to innovation. And then maybe a little bit in the spirit of what Dr. Fuster was saying, at the end of the day, though, I think that these apps, I think we need innovation in every single aspect of healthcare, how we deliver it, how we measure it. But, but we do need it in terms of new therapies. Certain problems like Alzheimer's disease, that's not going to get substantively better just by having a healthcare delivery system that operates more efficiently or has more quality. Those will be great things, but they're not going to make the same kind of change as a medicine would make. So to prevent the disease or treat the disease or delay the symptoms. So at the end of the day, it's kind of boots on the ground, new medicines, new vaccines. I think they hold a lot of promise of contributing to health.
Science Leader magazine. Building on that innovation, I'd love to hear each of your opinions on the breakthrough therapy designation.
I think from Lilly's perspective, we welcome it. I think we need to balance the risks and the advantages, because we need to make sure that we're not bringing therapies forward that we don't yet have full data on, but I think we see it as a significant advance and something that we should embrace and encourage.
We're just acquiring experience with breakthrough therapy designation from the FDA. We have a compound that right now looks very promising, an anti-PD-1 antibody. It's having very encouraging results in malignant melanoma. And we're early experiences that it gives us a lot of access to the FDA, helps us plan accelerated development programs, clear point people identified on both sides that help you get the job done. But, you know, it's early days for that program.